Alright, hello. I thought I'd just go over the character configuration and system configuration settings in one quick video, just so you can see how I have it set up. I'm playing on console, but this is just useful for controller players in general, whether you're on console or on PC. So hopefully you find something useful out of this, and you'll see what works for you. As you can probably tell just from my layout, things already look much different than default. To me, this looks really nice, so maybe you'll find something that works for you in here. We'll start character configuration. Obviously, make sure that you're on controller mode. For this video, I mean, if you're playing with a mouse and keyboard, this video will be absolutely useless for you. So we'll start up here in controller settings, and we'll start in the general tab. And I'm just gonna run through it. Feel free to pause whenever you need to pause for something. I think most of the settings are pretty self-explanatory. I want to stress very much, if things aren't to your liking, please adjust them. You know, make it work for you. I'm just showing you what works for me. I think there's some merit in seeing this. I like to think there's some merit in seeing this, at least. Otherwise, obviously feel free to change it to what works for you and what feels more comfortable or looks better or whatever. This is probably the first setting I want to just take a second to talk about. Enable direct chat. Even if you're playing on a PlayStation like I am, you can still absolutely just plug in a keyboard, or even in my case, I have a wireless keyboard and mouse combo kind of set that both connect to the same receiver. So I only have to put in one USB receiver into the front of the PlayStation, which is nice because the PlayStation only has 2 ports in the front. So this is a great option. If you are someone who's playing on controller but also would like to have a keyboard or a keyboard and mouse next to you for various things like, you know, being able to just drag stuff around, make things easier. For example, when I'm at the market board, I much prefer to use the mouse and keyboard just because it makes it easier to go through the various menus. If you are someone like that, just like me, then you would probably want to figure out whether you like to have this enabled or disabled. I had it enabled for a long time, in which case, if this is turned on, basically what happens is as soon as I press any of the letter keys on the keyboard, it will start typing in the log chat. Alright, it would start, I'm in the chat log, sorry. Which makes it easy if you're just using your keyboard to type. Otherwise, what I've done recently is turn this off, and what that lets me do is also use the keyboard to hit certain shortcuts. So if I hit J on my keyboard now, it's not just going to start typing J in the chat log, it's going to open the journal. What that also means is that if I want to start typing in the chat log, I'll have to press enter first, or slash, you know, R to reply to a tell, or slash FC to talk in my free company. It takes a little second getting used to, because I've been playing with this direct chat enabled the whole time, but ultimately for me this is a little bit more useful because I do sometimes like to be able to just, for example, hit the semicolon button and very quickly get to the FC page. So for me, I like to keep this off. I have this one personally turned on because I turned off the keybind that would allow me to quickly switch to first person. I find that kind of useless to have an entire keybind for that, so instead I'd rather just be able to zoom all the way in, and that would take me to first person, which is a nice option to have if you're talking to an NPC and you've never met the NPC before and you kind of want to look to see what they look like, or you're hanging out with your friends and your friend has recently put on it or changed their glamour and they want to show it off, you know, whatever it is. I think it's just a useful option to have. If you never want to be in first person, that's fine too, just don't zoom all the way in, you know. These two options are your traditional game settings for controller stick sensitivity. For me personally, 65 works, but you figure out whatever works for you, how quickly or how slowly you want the camera to turn, but I think this is a good spot. This third person camera angle is in relation to how high the camera angle is to your character. I like to keep it roughly here so that my character is a little bit lower on the screen because I don't need to see my character when I'm in the middle of battle. And in my opinion, well, I don't think it's much of an opinion, I think most people would agree with that, is that this section is obviously prime real estate for your gameplay. You know, most of the stuff is going to go in this section, so I don't want my character all the way up here. I want him tucked down a little bit. So that's why I turned this up a little bit. I think default it's like 30 or something, or 25 or something like that. But I put it on 50. It could probably even go a little bit higher. That works for me. 55 is fine. So he's a little bit lower, and he doesn't get in the way of any of this stuff. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your company. And this look at target when speaking, you know, that's the same, oops, excuse me, that's the same concept, you know, just being able to immerse yourself in the game a little bit more and see what's going on there. Let's move this over to the middle again. These two you can mess around with. I think this is very much personal preference. I started on cone, but it's now on ignore depth just because I'm testing out some of the targeting stuff going on. This I have turned off. You can turn this on. This might be useful, for example, if you're playing a different role like a healer or something and you want to be able to cycle through your party members instead. You could have that on. I turned auto sheath off. My targeting is different when I'm sheath here, as you can see, versus when my weapon is drawn. So I like to be able to fully control what type of targeting mode I'm in by manually sheathing and unsheathing my weapon. This one's another important one. I think it starts on large, which makes it kind of cluttery when you're looking at your map, so I think standard is a good option. These are usually on. By default, I would turn them off just because it clutters your screen when you first log in, and I don't think they're very necessary. This flying text is for when you're in combat and you have, for example, your various procs or whatever popping up here. I think it starts on large. I keep it on standard. Again, personal preference. If you find it difficult to see the standard version, then absolutely put it on large, because I think it is important to be able to see that. Local time and server time, you can see in the top right. Again, whatever works for you. I like to have local and server time on. I know some of my friends like to have Eorzea time on as well, but I think the important ones are definitely these two. These options with the dots, you can see it here as well. These are clickable. You can change the color of the various nameplates of people in chat or in the world. I like to match them to the color that their chat log would be. So for example, when I'm in a party, my party members' nameplates will be green. If they type in the party chat, that text will also be green. Same with Alliance. Alliance nameplates are orange. If they type in chat, their text will be orange. Same with other PCs, other player characters, and my friends. I keep most of this stuff either on when targeted or some variation of on. I don't think you ever have to really need to put it on never. If you wanna, you know, if you wanna, you can absolutely put that on, of course. But I like to keep it on when targeted. So if I do want to see someone's information or see someone's title or whatever, I can just do that by targeting. But for myself, I just, you know, there's no need to keep that on. So again, party members You know, pick the colors that work for you, but I like to keep them varied, so at least, you know, you can very quickly tell just by looking at chat who's talking and in what chat log. I think for all player characters, whether it's party members, alliance members, whatever it is, you don't really need to see their companion nameplates above them. It clutters the screen, so just put it on when targeted, or in this case, you could absolutely put it on never. For other PCs, I picked a light blue slash a sort of off-white or whatever, just because it's not, you know, I'm not interacting with them that much, so I don't want them to stand out, so they kind of just keep a bland color, and that makes the more important things like your friends, your party list, alliance members, NPCs, that makes them stand out more when the majority of the nameplates, which is other player characters, are a lighter color. So here, as you see, friends is in a dark blue, so if I see my friend walking around, his nameplate would stand out a lot more versus other players. And also, as you can see, when your friends message you, it would match the color, and that's just how I like to make it work. It just seems a little bit more organized to me. If you don't find that necessary, hey, don't worry about it. I think these should all be default. The only one I probably changed here is NPCs to yellow. Again, just to stand out from the crowd of other players' nameplates, especially during events or whatever. You can see that NPCs get absolutely swarmed. Again, feel free to pause it on anything you need. I'm just blasting through it so you can copy it if you wish to. These super annoying sounds you're hearing the whole time can be set here. I have it on. Sorry that they're going off during the video, but usually it's quite useful to have them on. So for tells, parties, alliance, and free company, I have them on. They all sound the same except for free company, because free company tends to be a little bit more active. So this is that normal sound you've been hearing when someone messages you, and in free company you have a simpler sound, since a lot more people might be talking there at a single time, as you can hear. For the rest, I have it turned off. Log details, font size, that's up to you. I would say probably keep your transparency quite low. Sometimes the world behind, you know, the world is very lively and there's a lot of different colors behind, so it can be difficult to see the chat log in certain lights or certain settings. So I just keep it transparency on 0 so that the chat log is always blacked out like that. It makes it a lot easier to see. Here's where those log text colors would be, and here's how I would match them to the various things. So as you can see, party members are in green. That's because their nameplates are also in green. So for me, that just seems to make more sense. And on this page, the only one I ever changed was the free company. The reason they're pink is because free company members don't have their own nameplate color. So I figured, okay, well, I'll just pick one that isn't in use anywhere else, and pink was the best option. These should all be default, I think. Here's where you can adjust what the various tabs are. For me, I find it important to be able to switch to tiles, to switch to FC chat, battle chat, and the general. So whatever works for us, or for you, I should say. Alright, so that's the character configuration. Let's go over to the system settings real quick. I would turn this on when I get a new mount just to hear what its music's like, but the Chocobo music is driving me fucking crazy, so I turned it off for now. This is probably a bit blasphemous that it's so low, but for the sake of the video I thought it'd be easier just to keep the music volume down, but normally I keep this cranked up because the music's fantastic in this game. This is all personal, whatever works for your system. And in this case, I would probably keep it on dark mode just because it's a little easier on the eyes, and yeah, for me that works. You can keep it on light or classic if you like, but I think dark mode's probably the best option. Alright, and that's about that. I hope it helped. Obviously, you know, feel free to pause throughout the video so you can change the settings yourself. And anything I said here, you don't have to do yourself. You know, find out what works for you, because ultimately that's what's most important. So good luck with that, and I hope it was sort of useful. Alright, ciao.